What's going on, fam? It's your boy Sydney, and welcome back to another video. Most of y'all know that the missus and I are very much of a foodie, and we've been using turmeric a lot in our culinary dishes. Turmeric, one of the tropical perennial plants from India, so it loves the heat and humidity. Now you could get this from your local grocery store, and we normally grow these in containers. So we're going to show you 3 different ways that you can grow this plant. So let's get growing. Now it wasn't until we started gardening that we realized it has other purposes besides this culinary, like medicinal reasons. This is a great plant to grow if you're in a small space or if you're in an apartment, because it doesn't grow too tall. It grows about 3 feet, maybe up to 5 feet, depending on the growing conditions. Like I said, it loves the heat, loves humidity, and is a very heavy feeder. If the growing condition is just right, it will grow a beautiful flower. So when you pick up your turmeric, you want to make sure you go to like a local organic store. When they're picking these, most of the time they're going to be in the dormant stage, so we're just going to have to wake these bad boys up. If you're doing a container like this, you want to do anywhere from about 4 to 6 inches apart. The further apart that you have them, they will become larger once they grow. And you don't really have to have a deep pot like this because they don't grow deep. They basically grow laterally. And so we're just going to do about 5 in this pot. And once you see these little spores, sometimes most of the grocery store will cut these spores off or these spuds off, so that way they won't grow. Sometimes they even have a growth inhibitor on there to make sure that they don't spud out. But we're just going to put them in like this, and then we'll just cover them with a 2 inches of soil, just like that. And the soil just needs to be very loose, heavily compost or some type of organic matter on there. You want your soil to be very moist, not too particularly saturated. You don't want to get it waterlogged. We'll get it like that. We're going to spray it down and show you what it looks like afterwards. For this potting mix, all we use is a simple potting mix. We just made our own by using some sphagnum peat moss, some perlite, and then I use some black cow. Now, even though this is a tropical plant, it doesn't like extreme heat directly on it. So you want to have it in some morning sun and then let have some shade on it, so that way it's not getting direct sunlight. So we're going to have it right up in this area. We have a tree line where during the evening time it's going to start filtering to where it's not going to be the sun's not just going to be pounding right on it, because you're going to have your leaves to be getting some type of scorching on there. So now let's go show you another way we're going to be planting our turmeric. So another way you could plant your turmeric is in the ground. With the turmeric, you want to make sure that your ground soil is at least about 65 degrees in temperature. Like I said, these turmeric plants love heat and humidity. Turmeric doesn't like direct sun because you're going to scorch the plant leaves. That's why we have it right here where the tree that is above here is going to be filtering some of the UV rays. We're still going to plant it 6 to 8 inches apart. This is our first year growing these in ground, so we're not sure how these are going to turn out. And these are preferably grown in a zone 8 and below, because it takes about 10 months for it to fully mature. So we got it right here. We're going to put some more potting mix of ours on here, about 2 inches. I think that should be good. And then once the temperature gets about maybe 50 degrees, it'll start to go into dormant stage. You'll start seeing the leaves kind of die back. You don't have to harvest it all right there and then once it goes into dormancy stage. The reason why we're planting them in the ground and out in our permaculture orchard, we're going to be harvesting them as we need them. Once the leaves turn yellow and brown, we're going to cut them down up to about the soil level, and then we're going to mulch it heavily with either some compost or whatever thing that we can find, maybe some leaves, about 4 to 6 inches. And that will help insulate some of the soil temperature. So that way, when springtime comes the following year, we'll be able to re-sprout those greens and use those green leaves of either teas or some type of tinctures, whatever it may be. So this year, this is our first time actually doing it from one of these bootstrap trays. We had great success with them, and it was basically one of those things where we set it into the seeding trays and just kept the soil moist under a heating mat. Now that it's summer, we don't have to worry about heating mat. I kind of forgot about it, and it kind of went to crap. So we're going to have to be replanting these. That's the reason why we're doing them now. You don't have to be considerate about the spacing, because what this basically is doing is helping you start your seeds, or starting your rhizomes, I should say. So you basically just put them into the trays like this. Make sure you kind of bury them. And then later on, you should see some sprouting of them. And then from there, you could transplant those into a particular pot that you need them in. So now we'll just cover these up. And you're gonna keep these nice and moist. These leftover ones, we could just either plant them in the ground, or you could actually freeze them. You could grate them over some dish or whatever type of culinary uses, or into a soup, slice them up, dehydrate them, make a powder out of them, whatever. So we're just gonna moisten these up a little bit. Like I said, these are great if you're in a small space or in an apartment. You can use these, grow these in a container. Now, with the growing them in container, you want to make sure you have some drainage holes. They are heavy feeders, so you want to use something like compost, some worm casting, or some well-balanced fertilizer that's all the way through. And you want to feed that probably once a week. You want to make sure that your soil stays nice and moist, not soggy, because you don't want your plant to get root bound or soggy whatsoever. We have a video of us harvesting some of this turmeric. If you want to see that video, we'll put it off to the side and also down in the description down below.